a quiet good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for being here. It's great to see you. So on behalf of the administration and the board, trustees, and Chair Miller is here with us here this evening. We welcome you and we thank you for coming. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules, and we also bid welcome to those who may be watching over the next days or weeks as we record these sessions and make them available. The one from Monday night was sent out yesterday as well. That this listening tour is a time for you to express your voice. We want to move forward together, and I am absolutely confident that we can do that. And these conversations are a very important step in that direction. In a few minutes, I'll introduce Brigadier General Terry Jurek, who's in the back. Most of you probably know. She's the Commandant of the BWO Corps of Cadets and Special Assistant to the President. So she's going to serve as our facilitator tonight. This is a monumental year for us. We all know that. We are celebrating our 175th anniversary. We've already had some wonderful occasions together on Charter Day, and then on Founders Day. We look forward to our homecoming, and then of course to our 175th commencement exercises. But even as we celebrate this milestone year, we are, as you know, confronting serious challenges. As a tuition-dependent institution, enrollment continues to be our most significant challenge. Mary Baldwin is not immune to the national trends of declining undergraduate enrollment and potential closures, especially the pressures on comparable women's colleges with modest endowments. To reach financial sustainability, where we can support our programs, where we can support our faculty, our staff, and our facilities, our Mary Baldwin 2020 strategic plan sets forth the enrollment necessary between 2,250 and 2,500 students in the university overall, with the parts of our constellation of community working synergistically together to enhance and support our programmatic and our financial ecosystem. The enrollment goal for the College for Women in Mary Baldwin 2020 is stated as, quote, enroll a minimum of 700 to 753 women. There are other specific goals and strategies that you may have already seen in the plan. And the baseline for the strategic plan enrollment was fall of 2013. At that time, we had 753 women in the College for Women. So as we have shared over the past few weeks, overall enrollment has declined since the fall of 2013 in all programs except in the Murphy-Deming College of Health Sciences and in the graduate program in Shakespeare and Performance. We are down 100 residential women in 3 years. So that means our total enrollment this fall was 1,761. So we must reverse this trajectory. So since October of 2015, the board and the administration, with ongoing input from faculty and staff, have studied the relevant external trends and data. We have thoroughly analyzed our current position, our enrollment, our finances, our existing areas of strength, a slate of dozens of possible new initiatives. And we've monitored our position, as we must, with our external stakeholders to meet our required financial ratios and measures, including our accreditor, the Department of Education, our bondholders, and our banks. But the conclusion is inescapable. We must improve residential enrollment, even as we launch other new initiatives, including our new Master's in Business Administration, the online Master's in Healthcare Administration in the Murphy-Deming College of Health Sciences, and national marketing for our online and adult programs. Likewise, the time frame is urgent. Higher education today is so very much different than it was even 5 years ago. So we must adjust now, and we must do it quickly, or Mary Baldwin faces an existential threat. These difficult decisions are the responsibility of the board and of the administration. So we set in motion, as you know, the new co-ed living learning communities in the fast track programs in the University College. But launching the University college does not mean we intend to neglect the women's college. We acknowledge that the addition of residential men will change some aspects of the women's college. But we also firmly believe that working together we can nurture and enhance the Mary Baldwin College for Women. There are many initiatives underway, including the new Living Learning Community in the College for Women, that being women entrepreneurs. So when we speak with prospective students on visit days and on other occasions, we emphasize not only the proven benefits of a women's college education, but also the added value of being able to take summer online courses, to gain admission to our graduate programs, to earn a master's degree at an accelerated pace. All this building on the excellence in the liberal arts and undergraduate research and the personalized hallmark that you know of a Baldwin education. So taken together over the next few years, the College for Women and the University College will bring us closer to the generally regarded thriving threshold for residential colleges, between 900 and 1,000 students. We have listened carefully to your voices over the past few weeks. We have heard from alumni across all decades. We have heard pride and excitement. We have heard dismay and disappointment. I do apologize to those of you who feel blindsided by the announcement about the University College. We hear your requests for greater transparency about institutional challenges, finances, and decision-making. So at the Alumni Summit on February 4th, we will distribute a context paper about our finances and our decision-making processes and how they align. This paper will serve as an introduction and a context to our new commitment to publicly issue an annual report. And this material, of course, will be available at the summit, but it will be available to all alumni. So we appreciate your offers to be engaged. Our mutual goal over the next few weeks is to do just that, to share our voices and our information transparently so that our extended community may more fully understand this urgent moment and channel the passion and the power we hear of our work together so that we can accomplish it together. So I do now want to open the floor for comments and questions, so we have plenty of time for that. We will reserve some time at the conclusion to wrap up and talk a little bit more about the summit. So please welcome General Jurek, and she'll just give us a few guidelines for our conversation.
Great. Well, good evening. I'm pleased to join you all tonight, and my role as the facilitator is to help you share your comments and questions about the future of our community. Plenty of refreshments, and the restrooms are out to the left. They're basically behind this wall over here. We have great attendance tonight, and it's important that everybody who wants to participate in this discussion is given that opportunity. So just a few ground rules. If you have a comment or question, please come to this microphone, introduce yourself, your name, your class, how you're affiliated to the university if you're not a grad. We have about 75 minutes to listen to comments and respond to the questions. And then President Fox, as she said, she'll do brief closing remarks, and then we'll stay around if people just want to talk. In the consideration of all who would like to speak tonight, please express your question or comment or a response concisely. And as the facilitator, I doubt that I'm going to need to, I may make a suggestion that we summarize a particularly lengthy comment in order to keep moving forward and allowing everybody an opportunity to speak. Let's also show respect for the person at the microphone, President Fox, by not interrupting. And then I wanted just to see if there's any public media in the room. Could you just wave if you're media? We didn't notice. Yes, ma'am. And at this time, if you do have a question or a comment, we welcome you to come forward, and then we'd like to empower others to come forward in an orderly fashion, so everybody will just follow each other up. When we did it 2 nights ago, it worked out perfectly. Everybody just followed each other. And is this loud enough? Yep, great.
Sounds good.
Over to you.
Mm-hmm. Over to you, please.
Good evening. I'm Melissa DeWitt-McClintock, class of 2002. I've had great concern over the future of the residential women's college and her success in the current academic climate. Some examples of success within the residential women's college were noted at the Fishersville listening tour and are of particular interest to me. It was said that cohort groups within the women's college are a way to distinguish ourselves from not only other small universities, but also two other women's colleges within close proximity to Mary Baldwin. The VWIL, PEG, and Women's Entrepreneur programs were all utilized numerous times as examples of successful living learning communities. The current enrollment of VWIL was provided as an example of growth within a current functioning cohort, and it was considered that if cohorts of that size were successful, the women's college could grow and thrive. Simply stated also to the crowd was this is not the last solution to maintain a residential college for women. Given these testimonies speaking to the success of cohorts within the residential college for women, my question simply comes down to this. Why is it the opinion of the administration and the Board of Trustees that these must include men?
Can you hear me from here? You know, it's a good question, and I think first of all that's correct. What you said at the beginning, these cohorts function very well now. Many other ideas on the table. All of this about continuing to nurture and develop. But as I said, the situation is at a very critical point. And that came the hard decision. These cohorts, these 4 living learning communities, were put together over the course of about a year, with each had a faculty and staff committee. So the board discussed in February of 2016, well, could some of these be co-ed? We know these programs, particularly the fast track area programs, have appealed to both men and women, and that's showing in the applications we have now. And so the 3 of those programs were discussed potentially to be co-ed. As we got into the summer, and as we saw that our enrollment situation continued to decline and be concerning, that the decision was taken very seriously in July, that 3 of them would be opened to both men and women. So in short, it's the potential to really have an impact and improve the residential college overall for women and the enrollment and the whole state of the main campus itself. It's a difficult decision, but it was at that point where that kind of action, in addition to everything that we're doing for the women's college, in the opinion of the board and the administration, needed to be taken. Difficult as it is.
I'm too short for this mic. I'm Nicole Zevon Coffey, class of 99, and I understand that we are in a very serious financial position, and that is not something that any of us take lightly. I think as alumni, we do have fiduciary duty to our alma mater, and I think many of us feel extremely committed to that. To that end, I have worked really hard to be a donor since graduation. Twice, I have been dropped out of annual giving. Twice, I was giving monthly. No one followed up for over a year. Currently, no one has followed up, period. So, if we're in such financial straits, perhaps our first answer is to look and see what's going on with giving, what's going on with our donors, where are we missing money, what can be raised, before determining, again, that men are the answer. I'd like to see alumni have the opportunity to step up before we move forward.
I appreciate it. Well, first of all, thank you for giving, and secondly, I'm sorry that you haven't been followed up with in those areas. And I think that part of this communication in the broad sense that we've had over the past few weeks, we have recognized these areas where follow-up, where accurate information, where channels to put that information in either haven't been in place, or sometimes you have tried to do it and it still isn't in place. And I apologize for that. That's not the situation that we want to have. So in that area, there's the same kind of situation, some of them that we've discussed with regard to Bravo and efforts to help with recruiting in those areas or other kinds of engagement. So we are having motion right now some task forces with materials, procedures, points of contact that will be clarified, printed up for you, available at the summit, and available to everybody right after that. So you're absolutely right. We want to improve your ability to communicate and engage engage with us in that area, in fundraising, but in several areas as well.
And I guess I would say then that I too apologize for the same thing that panelists apologizing for. I think there have been some execution issues in certain areas. I think there's going to be a lot of things coming out in the next few weeks that show that these problems are being addressed and that we're trying to reset that point, along with enhanced engagement, genuine engagement opportunities. So I think you're going to be seeing things rolled out. They can't. I mean, it wasn't a matter of snapping our fingers and having these things in place, but we're trying to do it the right way, to listen to what you said, react to that, and really reach a reset point in many of these areas. And the second part of your question was, why don't you let the alumni have the ability to see what they can do to see before we make such a big change? Well, I certainly understand that question. It's something that the board thought about in many ways. It is the view of the board based on the facts and the trends and the studies and the discussions that have gone on for a while, that the solution the solution to the type of enrollment issues that are being faced by Mary Baldwin and similar institutions, that it's the only type of answer that makes the institution sustainable is a big answer, a systemic change that increases the available pool of recruited students. I think I said this last night, and I see some of us for Monday night, and I apologize to those of you who were there that I'm repeating myself, but one of the things I come back to is that it was 11 years ago, within 125 miles of Stanton, there were about 3,700 young women in undergraduate single-sex education. Today, there are about 1,600. So the decrease in 11 years is huge. In addition, the 3 colleges that are left have capacity for about 2,400 instead of 1,600. We have more students in our undergraduate women's college than Collins. We have a lot more than Sweetbriar, but obviously they're in a different situation. Randolph-Macon Women's College is co-ed, and they're having record enrollments. So those are the kind of facts, and I can go to other studies. We're down. We believe, based on news reports, that yet another women's college is going co-ed, St. John's in Connecticut, in the next month or so. They've announced they're having a vote to do so. That'll bring it down to 38. 4 years ago, there were 50. And the ones that are gone, one closed, all the others have gone co-ed, all based not on a change of mission, but enrollments. Now, it's true that schools like Wellesley, Bryn Mawr, that kind of school, $1.5 billion endowments, they're not suffering. But modestly endowed, small size, liberal arts, single-sex women's colleges are having a tough time. And our time is made tougher by the fact that we're, with 38 left, there are 3 of us right here. So the board's view was that the kind of change that it would take to not be a Band-Aid was a change that substantially increased the pool. And that meant having an arm of the university that's co-ed. And I will tell you that the board considered full co-ed, full Randolph-Macon style co-ed. And the board did not want to do that, even though there's some data you can look at that suggests that would have been a better way.
And I think for myself and my engagement in the Women's College Coalition and in the National Association of Independent Colleges and Universities, I've certainly had conversations with all of the presidents of women's colleges. you know, the way, the situation, the differing approaches for some place, if like, for example, Grinnell in Georgia, if you don't know about Grinnell University, it's programmatically pretty much like we are with a mixture of graduate programs. They do have a residential college for women, but they do have men who live in apartments adjacent, so it's a very similar model to us. We're hopeful at the summit that we're going to have some more summary information about the women's colleges today, because we spent a lot of time thinking about it, but also the depth of discussion and solution that has gone on, both with Jane's work and my one-on-one work and conversations with presidents to understand what the best way forward for us is and how to position the sustenance of the women's college inside this small university to take advantage of all of those things, because that is an important message that resonates well every time I give an opening admissions welcome speech. I mean, why should you consider a women's college? Certainly, we know that, and that's the first thing we say. Why should you consider a women's college inside a small co-ed university? Because of all these synergies and possibilities and value added that you get. So I think that the information definitely told us that this path was the right one for us, difficult as it is, and that we can together continue to nurture and expand even the traditions of the women's college.
I'm Mary Margaret Kenny Marshall, class of '99. I think it's very interesting what Ms. Miller just shared, because I'm looking at evidence that says quite the contrary to what you said. Other women's colleges are holding their own with enrollments. Some are having record enrollments while being selected from a large number of applicants. And women's schools are successfully raising money. The enrollment problem is due not to a shift in cultural attitude among high school females, but largely to Mary Baldwin having an ineffective recruitment effort for over a decade or more. They almost entirely stopped face-to-face personal recruitment that got nearly all previous applicants, every single one of the girls in that row. Personal relationships brought us to Mary Baldwin. It continued to engage us afterwards. When things started to shift and your focus changed, which it is continuing to change, I don't necessarily want to back you up and say it's evolving. It's changing. When you're sending information out to individuals who are engaging you to go to a women's college, and you have told them it is a co-ed university, it is no longer a women's college, I would like to know what your strategic plan is to see the residential college for women succeed, at least over the next decade.
Well, there are a lot of statistics for sure, and I don't think it's the time to counter one statistic or another statistic. But the plan for the women's college, let me go back over what I said at the beginning. So in terms of the approved strategic plan itself, it says that we will enroll a minimum of 700 to 750 women. There are a series of strategies listed there, both about academic qualifications, about including the enrollment targets specific to VWIL and PEG and other aspects of the program. I believe one of these important information items will be to fully document the recruiting process now. It is comprehensive. I went downstairs today to pick up some recruiting materials. The President's Society is sitting down there writing notes to our current applicants and accepted students. Our counselors call them every day. We are about to begin the first overnight visit day this weekend. So I see that personalized connection going on. The outreach methods are somewhat different. They are very broad. We're not only reaching out to women who would say on the SAT, in other words, that 3% of women that they want to apply for women's college, but to a very broad base, much of it national in scope, with identified interest areas in academics that we offer and many other approaches that we take to doing it. So it is still personally based. Campus visits are very important. Those kinds of phone calls are important. And we will be able to share that kind of information on here's the recruiting cycle. Here's who we reached out to this year. Here's the methodology.
And as far as this strategic plan for the next 10 years?
So for the strategic plan for the next 10 years, that's why I started at the beginning with those numbers. Maintaining that 700 to 750, that's the numeric goal. How do we do that? We do that by the messaging, and I think the messaging is resonating with most families about the fact that it is in a women's college. We talk about all the value-added aspects of women's leadership, but the co-ed emphasis there has more to do with the availability of graduate programs and with online programs and how you have those added benefits of components that you don't find in a lot of liberal arts colleges. But the messages, the core messages are the same. It's academic excellence. It's the breadth of majors that we offer. It's the personalized attention and relationships that you have that make you the people that you are with your professors. It's senior projects. It's all of those things. So it's the whole breadth. When we talk about cohorts, we're not saying that you still don't have the opportunity to come to an institution not knowing if you want to be a history major or a political science major, because that's the part of the joy of finding it out. More and more students do come, particularly fast-track programs like these, with an intent of what they want to do and a track that they see going forward into that to a professional degree.
And I just, one more thing. When I think of what makes Mary Baldwin work today, it's the distinctiveness of certain of the programs, Be-Well, PEG,
Alumni.
I'm sorry?
The alumni.
Well, the distinctiveness of the programs, I was saying, and I was only talking about that issue.
Attracting new students.
The alumni as well. But, people said to us, well, do you think the women's college is going to wither away? And we are saying that we need to have the ability to invest in a women's college to keep it vital. And the types of things that we're doing, enhancing income streams to give free cash into the women's college for reinvestment, that's where we can find these signature programs, have dorms in better shape, things like that, to keep the women's college vital. Sorry.
Amy Dancy, originally a residential student, class of 03. I took a break in the middle and ended up finishing in 2016. So I've seen a huge difference in the college. You talk about the programs that are that make Mary Baldwin unique. PEG, VWIL. These are the parts of the school that make it sellable in a way, the residential program along with those, that makes it worth the $30,000 that you're spending for a women's institution. What percentage of students that are applying to the school each year are not getting in that possibly could meet the requirements or are just below the level of admissions that possibly we could find a way to work with them? Maybe they could start off in a different program to offer them the ability to be that 75 to 100 students on residential campus instead of allowing men in. They could bring in that vital statistic on our campus and give us another year now that all of us as alum have this information and knowledge and can support you as administration, as the board. We can finally all work as a team and allow those women on campus and these amazing programs that other universities don't have and show this country and Virginia especially why Mary Baldwin is the elite that they need to be at.
I think we do work very carefully with students who have many strengths but may not have the academic score of some other students. In fact, General Jurek, I want to say something about General Jurek's approach to this, which is to offer a special kind of program called VWIL Prep. If you have some of those issues, we'll give you a chance. You can come. We're going to say just a little bit more about what that is. It's precisely addressing this issue.
It's exactly what you were saying. What I did when I first came in was look at who was successful over the 20 years of graduating from Mary Baldwin, graduating after 4 years in the VWIL program. And it was clear. On average, they had a 3.5 GPA. They scored 500 in math, critical reading. They were involved in 2 or more extracurricular activities. But I said, what about those that don't meet that bar? And of course, there's always an exception to that. And that's when I said, well, you know, the Academy's got prep schools. Why don't we have a prep school? So that's what I've got. And I take people that want to be in VWIL who come in spring, and I put them in the prep program. And so it works. But across the university, I mean, that's a really important point that you bring up. And from what I've seen in 3.5 years, we admit a lot of people who are well below a 3.0 GPA, who SATs, I'm telling you, I mean, we could sit down and talk through this. And Mary Baldwin, and I know the board, and I've heard President Fox say this, and I see them, eyeball to eyeball, not just in VWIL. They come and talk to me. We call them students of promise. And I'm telling you what, exactly what you're saying, give me a chance.
That was me.
Give me a chance, and Mary Baldwin does that. But I think that's an interesting statistic for us to bring to the summit and look at that data. Who is it that doesn't meet the criteria that we don't accept? Great point.
I've worked in education for over a decade now, and I've gone from instructional assistant to now teaching that I graduated, and I was that student that just hit below the bar. And if we are looking at 75 residential students, I would love to see the numbers that there could be 75 applicants to our school that are missing it by 5 SAT points, or that are missing it by 0.1 of GPA. Have we looked at those numbers? Have you as admin, has that been explored before admitting men?
Yes, each year, and we are not rigid in any sense about those cutoff lines. We look at anybody who is at a cutoff line like that. We look at the admissions committee, faculty admissions committee, looks at the entire portfolio. They talk to the student. It's this sense of, do you think this could be the right place for you? We have a considerable number of women entering each fall in that category. I'm not saying that we couldn't get more and that we'd really like to have your help to do it, but we do have women, and those women who can root and succeed at the institution, it's a remarkable journey. But we are doing that now. We'd like your help if you want to identify more. But that's how we are able already to bring in a larger class than many similar institutions of our size, because we look at that breadth of promise.
I'm Emily, I'm class of 2008. We've had a lot of talk about the distinctive programs. I was a PEG student, and I know for me and a lot of my alumni, this has been a really emotional experience for us. In going co-ed, that being a single gender institution is a huge part of what makes PEG successful. And so it's just, I understand that PEG is a really small program, and in overall enrollment at the university, it's obviously not sustaining any sort of financial progress, but it just seems like if we're billing ourselves as this college that has these very distinct programs, that by admitting men into one, we're compromising another, particularly for PEG students who are coming, who are underage, who aren't making this decision on their own. Plenty of PEG students would say, I'm willing to come to a co-ed educational institution, but my parents sure as heck aren't willing to let me go. And so I think, we're the only, to my knowledge, residential program of our kind. And I think there's a lot of women who would love the opportunity to do something like PEG, and having a campus with men on it is going to foreclose that for them. Just period, end of story. I'll tell you right now, my parents have said, had there been men on campus, we wouldn't have gone. And I say all the time that I didn't find Mary Baldwin found me, and it was the best thing in my life, but I think a lot of other women are going to miss out on that if there are men on campus. So I understand there's been a lot of talk to say, oh, PEG's not going co-ed, and I do understand that, but I think the campus going co-ed is going to have an effect on PEG that I would like to have addressed, I guess.
Well, first of all,
Sorry.
Thank you for that, and thank you for clearly what the program meant to you and what the program brought to you. It's really lovely. So they are difficult questions to answer. We provided some answers in the Q&A. They aren't answers that are resonating far enough. I understand that. I mean, in terms of discussing the fact that we do have the dedicated residence hall, and we do have a very careful system of assisting and working on hours and curfews and things like that. The residence hall does sit right on the unguarded edge of Stanton as it is, and it's a very safe environment. I've also been told that saying that the men in the living learning communities being on the upper part of campus in Tullidge doesn't really change the situation, so I appreciate that. So I know that we can have a wonderful program and that we can ensure the safety of our valued PEG students. And beyond that, will some parents choose in this situation not to send their children? I don't know. I appreciate what you're saying about it. But as these visits start and the first overnight starts next week, we will be sitting down very directly and talking about this. So we're certainly not going to let families know there will be some groups of men living on the upper part of the campus.
Have you done that?
I'm sorry? I'm sorry?
Have you already told families that have been looking at the residential college for women starting this fall that there will be men on campus?
Yes, ma'am. And then at this first visit day, I haven't said it myself because I haven't spoken at visit day. But it's because they don't start until now. So it's not that I haven't spoken at previous ones. This is the first overnight spring accepted visit day that we've had, which is coming up this weekend. So we have changed, certainly have changed the perspective to explain the Mary Baldwin College for Women right up front, to explain the University College and what those options are. And then we would have special conversations, PEG staff will, with the visiting PEG families. So yes, we will.
Hello, I'm Beverly Estes Bates. I'm a class of 1964 graduate of the college. My grandmother went there when it was Augusta Female Seminary. This was right at the turn of the century. I was very proud to be at Mary Baldwin, and I loved it. I loved my relationship with the faculty. I liked the courses that I was taking. I am still extremely close with my classmates from the class of 64, 63, and 65. We are the closest groups. I still have friends in the other classes too. But I think that my peers, and I've been talking with them about this situation and what's going on, and I think that we are most proud that Mary Baldwin has been innovative and worried about being relevant to the time and the community and the educational system and what is best for our women to be, and any graduate, whether it's male or female, to enter the 21st century and be a wonderful participant and to improve the life of everyone around us. It has been exciting for me to watch the college evolve. I know it was very exciting for my mother to watch the college evolve from what it was when her mother went there. I think we have to continue to evolve. I think we cannot stand still. If we do, we will disappear. And I have so many friends, and so many of my mother's friends, whose colleges no longer exist and haven't existed for years. And so I am so proud of our college that we are thinking about the future and we are planning, like the health sciences. That's a wonderful area. They are going to be needed. With my generation, as we get older, we're going to need more health science people. So this is great. So we have to have all of these different courses. We're not just looking at it. I know My group got all in a twit because we had adult degree program, and they weren't going to be on campus. And how could their degree be as meaningful as our degree? Well, it's worked out that they are all doing things like being vice presidents of corporations and things like that, and they're doing very well. So I am just here to support the college. I am very fond of the women's college. I'm so glad that it has been kept in the plan and that it will thrive. I hope that it will thrive, but I think we have to look at the overall future, and we have to be relevant to the society that we live in today, not one that we lived in. I think, and you'll have to correct me, but I think the highest enrollment we've ever had was in like 1962. And it has been downhill since then. And so I think we have to think about, what are we offering that makes people want to come? And if you offer things, if you build it, they will come. If you offer the right things, people will come. And I think that the board and Pamela, I think you all have done a wonderful job with it. And let's just stay relevant to everything that's in the educational field today. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Hi, I'm Maria Carlton, and I'm from an ADP class of 2005. And the reason I'm here is because I'm one of those results of the innovative ideas that Mary Baldwin extended. When I came as an ADP student, I had graduated with an information science degree. I had gone into healthcare, and at the time I was a single parent, a working mom, sometimes 12 or 14 hours a day. And Mary Baldwin was the only one that I looked at because they had the first innovative health administration program before anybody else. Dr. Mosier, who was the program's director, prepared me for a wonderful, wonderful career. When I graduated from Mary Baldwin, I immediately set my sights on VCU and took a job with them, a promotion, a significant promotion. And as a result of my drive that Mary Baldwin gave me, I went back and got my graduate degree in healthcare administration. Today I'm standing here to tell you that I'm working on my doctorate. And I couldn't tell you. I know that I don't share the same emotion that you do because I was as a residential student for brief periods at a time. I took every opportunity to do summer STEM, to feel that energy. But I can tell you, the one thing that I can tell you about Mary Baldwin, regardless of how we innovate, it has uniqueness. I think that's what we need to hit, that's what we need to target. Even though we're evolving and changing, we can continue to sell those principles that are unique to us. I can also tell you from the perspective of a mother of a Sweetbriar student. She's very pained, she loves Sweetbriar, but she told me, Mom, what they're doing is not sustainable. And she's been part of the drive to fundraise, but she sees that it is not sustainable because the alumni will not always be there. So I urge you, I am very sensitive to what you're saying, but these fine people have really looked at a lot of ways to keep us relevant, as you said. Thank you.
I'm Lucy Leak, and I'm class of 1979. I'm probably not going to be as eloquent as the previous women who have come up here before me because I have a lot of things going on in my head right now. I am bravo to these last two women because I completely agree with them. However, I'm sad that information wasn't sent out to us in advance because I don't know if you remember this, President Fox, but I was here in Richmond at a meeting the same week when you came to Richmond when Sweetbriar announced everything that hit the newspapers. And I remember at that meeting how proud I was of being a part of Mary Baldwin, and I never wanted to go to Sweetbriar, and coming away from that meeting that night just even proved it even more. And because I just thought how awful that was handled. So I can't exactly say that how this has been handled is the best. I totally get it, because what y'all are saying tonight is that it's a fiscal issue. It really boils down to money. And I think, to be honest, unfortunately, I'm not going to be a part of the February 4th summit. If there had been a piece of paper in front of me explaining how the loss of even 100 students, that money, well, how many zeros is that money? I mean, just, I wasn't strong in math. I was your art student. Anyway, I think if I had some black and white information in front of me tonight to kind of explain to me how y'all got to where you got, I think I would understand more. In my heart, to be honest, because I was class of '79, before all these other fabulous enrichment programs came to the school, to me, Mary Baldwin will never be the Mary Baldwin that I had, the experience I had. I had a blast. I loved it. I am closer to my Mary Baldwin friends than I am to my St. Catherine's friends because of the diversity, because of them coming from other areas of the South. I mean, we're a really tight group. But yet I am so proud of all these different programs that y'all are offering to women, because I hate to say it, but it's still a man's world. And I have been working every day, except for the 3 weeks in between graduation and the start of my first job. I haven't stopped since. And I would say the majority of my friends don't work. So, on that note, I am totally behind all these programs that you're offering for women. It is really important to move forward and to change. But I also think, along with, if Lucy had seen some black and white, information on, the financial piece would probably help me understand more, as well as I'm sitting here going, well, the reason why I went to Mary Baldwin was so that I wouldn't have to wash my hair for like 4 days in a row. I loved being around women. I also wanted to say, I'm an odd bird because I was the youngest of 3 siblings. I went to Mary Baldwin. My brother, who was older than me, went to Hampden-Sydney. My oldest sister graduated Hollins, 64, mind you. My father was Hampden-Sydney, class of 35. My mother was class of 36, Farmville Teachers College. In my immediate family, all single-sex colleges. And I lived in Boston, Massachusetts for 26 years, and when I told people that, they thought I had 3 heads. Because nothing exists below New York City. But I'm trying to understand what a typical day is going to look like for the woman who is coming to Mary Baldwin now. I'm sitting here going, so how is this going to work out? How many women are going to be in these classes versus how many men? Or is it you keep on saying just one arm? I mean, I don't understand. So I really am listening to the passion of the younger graduates, but I also understand some of us older fossils that loved it for what it was. But I am really grateful to you for the fact that we still have a Mary Baldwin, college, university. I really am. I'm just trying to grasp the whole thing, that's all.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, I think the first part of your question, in terms of the communication, there is no doubt that the information that we're preparing now and will make broadly available about the financials over a period of time, how the financials correlate to the kinds of decisions that we made, that information that we're going to have at the summit, it would have been helpful if we had had that depth of information for you at the time of the announcement. I understand that, and I apologize for that. It's coming. I do believe it will help, and it will give you a clearer idea, not only of what you mentioned, what does it mean, what is the magnitude of tuition and room and board decline, for example. That's also a part of it. With having 100 empty beds on campus, how does it fit in with the rest of the programs of the institution? So I appreciate that, and it will be forthcoming. And we'll try to make that as digestible as possible, but also tell a little story. Because what happens when a series of decisions such as this have to be made is it's many parts. It's us looking broadly and digesting external trends and data. It's looking very broadly and deeply into our own enrollment figures, into our own financial figures, and at the same time understanding how those things have to come together to balance our stability and our external stakeholders. So there's a story each time these innovations occur that put into context financial data, as well as showing the financial data itself as appropriate and selected over a period of time. So we will do that, and I'm sorry that it didn't come out at the beginning of the process. The second part of it is what will a day in the life of a woman entering the very long college for women in the fall be like? Well, I don't have a crystal ball, let me say that. First of all, we don't know what the mix of these new programs will be. Right now, for these 3 living, learning, co-ed living, learning communities, with the goal of 25 students in the first year in each program, in other words, 75. We have 600 applications and 25% of them are for men. So at this point, I don't know, I just can't say. But what I do know is that they will get up in college, and everybody in the residence halls in the main part of campus will still get up and go to class and go to the dining hall, where there will be a few more men at breakfast than there have been. You're going to go to classes which are still predominantly women. As we see how these new programs shape out, if you think, let's say you have 25 students in the health science living learning community, you're going to have an extra section of that biology course. The students in that section have elected into a coeducational program, so they come knowing that their section is going to have men and women in it. Will there be some men in other general education courses? Yes. But having a women-empowered classroom and predominantly women, the clubs, the Student Government Association, those things are the same. Your roommates, your single-sex residence hall, the bonds of sisterhood that you form, those things seem constant to me. I'm sure there will be other things that change. Even as I say, I'm sure we can nurture the women's college, I also know it will change in some ways. It will.
And I just very briefly, because I know people have other things to say, I don't want to take up more time. But there were 2 things the board looked at in addition. There are a number of fairly competent, all of the small women's colleges in the West are unique. Nobody is just like anybody. But there are about 5 or 6 that have adopted what the board characterizes as a hybrid approach, where they have men on campus or living on campus, not living on campus, 50-50 male-female ratios in classes, things like that. In those women's colleges, the women in them report the same women's college satisfaction that all of us report. Now, it's an intangible thing, so it's difficult to measure. What have they given up that they didn't know existed? But nonetheless, that was when the board was looking at this possibility, the financial success of those hybrid institutions, which are very comparable, many of them, in size and resources to us, was quite compelling. The other thing I'd say is that you asked about the numbers one of the things the board was trying to do was to not have a sweep armament, where it's like, this is it. We were trying to draw the line in the sand of, we're not gonna go down. And so you can't wait till the last minute and see if the trend, this terrible trend that started a couple years ago, is it gonna level off? Is it 75? Or is it 100 beds we're down? Or in 3 years from now, is it 200 beds? What can you do as the board? You have to look forward. And you have to make decisions without perfect information of what the future will bring. We view this as a sustainable path, and that led to the choice. We view it as having all these programs as having synergy, being appropriate for the mission of Mary Baldwin, and we viewed it as essential to increase the number of breathing human beings in the potential applicant pool. And that's sort of the whole story. And the numbers will support that. I mean, we're happy to give more numbers, but I'm not going to try to do that off the cuff. I can't do that.
I think that, I'll just say really quickly that this has been the issue of the women-centered, this is the mission of the institution, women-centered liberal arts college. What does that mean? We had a very interesting debate on the floor of the faculty meeting. These kinds of issues, rest assured, were debated with vigorous opinions on various sides in the Board of Trustee meetings as we discussed these. But I want to ask Dean Martha Walker just to say something that she said really quickly on the floor of the faculty meeting when it was, well, what are we going to do in these classes if we have that?
I was almost about to say something.
Yeah.
I'm Martha Walker. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. I've been doing that for 6 months. For 20 years and 6 months, I was teaching French and Women's Studies and doing Brenda Bryant's aerobics classes with a couple of you all in this row and teaching. And we can talk about your final essay, my Women's Studies 100, which has to do with single sex and gender. But at any rate, what I said when the faculty began to talk about this at our December university faculty meeting, and I'm looking around HUD West, a room you all probably know well, it's full of people, some of whom hired me, believe it or not, 20 years ago when I came to Mary Baldwin, and there was exactly this question about what about the advantages of women's education, and what happens to all the things we've given women over the decades, that centuries now, almost to, that we've educated them. And I looked at my colleagues, the ones who are my fastest friends and the ones I butted heads with and everybody in between, and I stood up and I said, really, look around. Do you really think that the people in this room are going to change the way they teach because there are more men on campus? And you know, I'm going to be at Mary Baldwin, well, I can't, I'm now in another path. I can't start collecting Social Security until I'm 67, I think. So I've got some more years, I have more years to work with those people. And I think that whatever that mix is, that the commitment of Mary Baldwin faculty is still going to be to the women-centered liberal arts college. And I'm going to take this moment, and this may rustle feathers, and I'm ruffle feathers, and I'm going to go off script and say something a little bit subversive in my role as a professor of gender studies. When we start talking about how the college doesn't look like it did, it does. I mean, I went to Duke as an undergrad. Duke isn't my Duke anymore. I mean, remember that at our women-centered liberal arts college, we have residential students who identify as men. We have residential students who live on campus who live their lives as men. If you follow this, you know one of the markers of this is the pronoun debate. We have men who are commuter students who are present. We have men in the graduate programs who are there in classes. So, you know, what's a day at Mary Baldwin going to look like next year? Well, a day at today at Mary Baldwin probably didn't look the way it did when any of you was on campus, whether you graduated 5 years ago or 50 years ago. So, you know, and our current students, and especially some of the ones, you know, I've been teaching, are really interested in what this also means for trans students and trans identities. I know that's a whole other, you know, Pandora's box to open, but I think it is a reminder that it's not even simple any longer to say what it is to be women-centered. And so I appreciate the investment that you all have made in Mary Baldwin, emotionally, intellectually, financially, wherever it's come from. And thank you for being here, for giving us this opportunity to talk about it.
Okay, once again, I'm not the financial girl, but I just have a question. Are we trying to be too much to everybody? I mean, I mean, I see it happening in business in the years I've been in the working world, where some corporations are trying to be everything to everybody. So were there some areas that we could cut back on, or, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out.
It's a fair question, because we are a complex, small institution. I mean, as we have dealt with declining enrollments, as Bev said, since the high point of enrollment in the residential college for women in the 60s, you know that our approach has largely been additive. Additive programs that complemented the mission of the institution, and that the first one was, of course, the adult degree program. And then there have been many successful programs since then. I think that the programmatic relationships that we have right now are complementary and mission-centered. In the strategic plan, there is a statement about the liberal arts, not defined only in terms of disciplines, but as we all know, in terms of the habits and breadth of mind and thinking across disciplines, and in terms of your civic engagement. That ethos of the liberal arts, of course, it's the same curriculum in online and adult. That ethos is all throughout Shakespeare and performance. That was a founding principle in the way the curriculum was put together at the Murphy-Downey College of Health Science. That's what they call interprofessional health education, because that kind of cross-disciplinary critical thinking and understanding how dance and movement and art and human psychology affects the training of medical professionals. So and these new co-ed programs at the University College are all on our existing strengths, showing that exact synergy. So in the sciences and in health science, in theater and Shakespeare and performance, and in education, and that's why we've developed the graduate programs we've developed, because they fit those same missions and extend the opportunities. That's the way Dean Sprangel has put together the MBA program and is the architect of the Women Entrepreneurs. So we are a complex institution, but I really believe in the connections, the mission connections, and the programmatic connections, and the complementarity between the programs.
I'm going to have the exact opposite. I am Wendy Barnes McEntee, class of 97, and I always tell my students don't begin with an apology, but I'm sorry, I wasn't going to say anything, and I really can't help it. I started thinking a while ago, because as the class of 97, our 20-year reunion happens this spring, and that was sort of hard for me to grasp, because I am like 25, so I don't really And so I've done a lot of thinking over the last several months, and then especially over the last couple of months since all this information has come out about what Mary Baldwin has meant to me over the years. And as many people have said, I'm closer to a lot of my Baldwin sisters than I was to anybody I went to high school with or since then. And I worked in corporate America for many years, which Baldwin did a great job helping prepare me for that situation. And now at a change in my life where I've moved from corporate America into an academic career and have begun my life as Professor McEntee, which is just strange still to hear. I sort of have very mixed emotions about what you're saying and what you're going through, because as a professor at a small private liberal arts college, I'm very well aware of enrollment problems. I'm very well aware of how that ties to faculty salaries. I too have sat in a faculty meeting and had discussions about how many heads are in the seats and how that ties to everything else. And so from that standpoint, I empathize with you. And then of course, I can't imagine Mary Baldwin being anything else other than women. A lot of my sisters over here, and when we moved from Tennessee, even this past year, when we moved to Tennessee to Richmond, so my family could start this journey of our lives, it was my sister's girls in Richmond who said, if you need anything, if there's anything we can do for you, if you need help, even so much to send me a nanny one day, these are the women that have influenced me, so I can't imagine not having that. And I think what it really boils down to for me is not so much this whole men versus women issue, it's that as an alum, I feel disenfranchised. We talk about these specialized cohorts, VWIL and PEG programs, and they're amazing programs. I was at Mary Baldwin when VWIL was put into place. I was there as a part of the first class that came in. I watched them and saw them be successful, and I watched it change over the years. But most of us did not graduate from those programs. Most of us graduated from regular, just a regular 4-year degree. I came in as an honors scholar, and we were told that we were special. I was a Bailey scholar, and yet you never hear about that. That was a special cohort in and of itself, and yet you never hear about those people anymore. So I feel disenfranchised. I too have been dropped off of the giving roles. And furthermore, as a marketing professor, I am continually concerned about our continuing lack of professionalism when trying to contact. I'm really nervous. For somebody who teaches all day, I'm like super nervous, I'm sorry. Our continuing lack of professionalism when we contact alumni for information. I've seen the example of the postcard that went out with the wrong address to Atlanta. The postcard that went out that said, help us celebrate our 17th anniversary. The letter, we posted somebody the other day about the letter that went out, we are so excited, insert your name here, letter that went out to an accepted student. All these kinds of things. And so I feel like in a lot of ways we're sort of unraveling. And I want to know, I know that you talked about these things that are going to happen in February and that sort of thing. And I want to know how you are going to convince me as an alumna that I'm still valid and that I am still important to the institution and that what I have to say is still important and that you still want my money and that I'm not going to be embarrassed because of what we produce and put out in front of the world.
I'd just like to say, I agree with a lot of what you said. I can't remember all of it quite well enough to know if I agree with every single word. No, I just am like a little fried now. But, it was horrific. And I just want to say that there are things in motion right now that are going to be developing, and there'll be there'll be much more to report very soon.
I mean, those mistakes were not only embarrassing, they're just inexcusable.
Right, thank you.
I would like
to say
that.
I'm not
just
the
trying to
one.
work like that. You know what I mean?
So it's been so consistent.
Yes.
No, I think, we deserve all the licks you're handing out on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely there.
And I'm sure it's uncomfortable to stand up there and have us come at you, but at the same time, that's your job.
That's right.
And
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
And with that,
Everybody understands
with that, it is our job to hold you accountable to doing what the mission is. Impact of women should not be forgotten, nor should it be not supported by the alumni. When are you going to? No, I don't need that. When are you going to engage over 2,000 alumni that have stepped up and have offered to talk with you, to offer their time, their talent, and their money, which is what you need?
Well, I'm going to turn that over to you in just a second. I don't mean to keep standing up here.
Omni Baldwin has sent you letters and has asked you to engage. You have sent a letter back and said, we will talk with everybody,
Correct.
not just one or two of you.
Correct, that's right. No, we don't deal with certain segregated groups of alumni.
But you do. You choose who you deal with. You have chosen who you dealt with prior to this, You are choosing who you deal with now, and you will choose who you deal with in the future.
I don't, I mean, what is this, who's in this, how did you choose who's in this room?
So you're willing to walk away from 2,000 people, essentially, that have offered you time, talent, and money.
Well, you seem to be implying that unless, that we can't deal with that we have to deal with some people and not others. And what we're saying is we don't want to deal with the not others.
But what she's saying, Holy Baldwin has not, the group of alum that have come together, that's a group that has put their passion, time, and money, as she said, to contact you because we're the ones that have the fire, that have the passion, and that want to keep Mary Baldwin alive, as you have stated that you want to. And we have come together not segregating against anyone else that wants to. We've opened the doors to all other alums that want to be part of it as well. So we are the ones that opened doors to all that wanted to, and we were the core ones of 2000 that came together with the voice and the passion and all of that together. And with that, we are bringing up that group that want to speak to you, and we are being told no as a representation of the alums. I believe, is that correct, what you're trying to say? We have not shut our doors as alum to anyone else, but we've opened it up to all of them, and you're still telling us no.
Actually, can I say something to that?
I didn't even know what this was until just 2 seconds ago. Okay? And I'm also a person who I've tried to change my email address with you guys 4 times. But what I'm saying is getting back to the bones, the meat of the matter. And I still think it's a fiscal thing. So I'm sitting here going, there's a staffing issue, I think, or maybe there's not enough people to help in the alumni office or in endowment, you know, I don't know. But maybe the cutting should come, I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I'm not a financial person, but I'm sorry, ladies, I didn't even know what this is, but. Well, guess what? I'm class of 79. So,
I just want to make one remark with regards to the openness of this 2000 alum organization, because I was actually part of the Facebook page when it all started, and when somebody asked my opinion and it didn't coincide with, I guess, others, I was kicked off the page. And I know others were too. So, can you give us a little background?
Yeah, I mean, y'all, I'm lost. And I'm sure I'm not the only one sitting here who's lost.
Okay. There's a social media page, I always get the words all mixed up, but that started after the announcement inviting alums of Mary Baldwin to participate in conversations. And so I signed up, and actually one of my sister, Knowles, asked my opinion, and I stated that I actually supported the school's decision, and I got kicked off the group. It's a closed group, it's not an open, public group. So, and I know others that are supportive of the decision also got kicked off. So I just want to be clear. I don't want to start an argument, but I want to be clear that it hasn't been an open discussion with people that maybe feel a little differently than those that are completely opposed to the decision. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
We have about 15 minutes left, so that it's probably going to equate to about 3 more people coming to the microphone, and then
Actually, my question got completely swept into that,
Go ahead, I'm Pam Baskerville, class of 75. I have a number of tentacles in the Mary Baldwin community. My college roommate is Kathy Smallwood, who's on the board. My husband Charlie is here. He was on the board. My daughter Susanna graduated, perhaps with some of your younger people. And I would like to say, sitting back and listening to people who are at least my age and also younger, I would love to get to know some of you younger people. I am not on Facebook. I'm a retired circuit court judge. I was maybe the second person ever from Mary Baldwin to go to law school. and I was very well prepared. There are many of us, and I say that just because Facebook doesn't allow, that's my ethics. I'm not aware of any of this, and there are many of us who are here because we truly care. But I got where I was, just as everyone else who's spoken, because of the lovely influences of the people who were there at the same time I was, the way I was molded to make it in a man's world. And I would just add that being on the board, I know, is in many ways a thankless job. I know that you have worked very hard to explore all options. And I certainly share in the sadness that we're here where we are because we all are committed to the education of women. But I do join with the feelings that, and what I'm hearing, if I can summarize what I'm hearing just listening, is that everybody loves Mary Baldwin, loves the innovation. I would just ask that you do involve us and let us get to know each other, because I'm loving what I'm hearing from the passionate older and younger, so thank you.
I don't know, I thought I was in line. You are. Okay, I'm Lee Ayers Gilman. I graduated in 1972, so I'm an oldie. I'm on the alumni board. I want to just take this a little bit different direction now about the endowment. And I mean, it's great to get the money from alums and all that, but maybe there's a shortage of people. Shouldn't somebody in the administration be out beating the bushes for businesses once they hear about all our different things that are going on, who would get excited about it to contribute money? I mean, I just think a lot more money is going to come from the businesses than the alums. And that's what I was wondering, if anybody does that. If anybody is constantly out there trying to get businesses to donate money because they have a connection or they love our new program, or...
Absolutely. The next 4 months, we have 5 foundations and 5 corporations. And they are specific to the strengths of the institution, whether that be STEM and women, and whether they be women and diversity going into business. So yes, we are very active.
That's what, 10? I mean, I'm talking about getting out, way out in the corporate world and just,
I think we take that as a reasonable number for a short period of time. So that involves, a visit and an introduction and the development of a proposal. What I'd like to do is actually yield some gifts in the near future from these organizations. Then as we get a little bit more down the road, then you can have a layering of introductions that take longer. So decided for the next 6 months to take a focus with foundations and corporations that match our interests and our strengths in women's programs, and concentrate there, and then build upon that. It's not something that we have done enough of in the past, but there's a very rigorous plan for the next year.
I just hadn't...
It's a good point, though.
I hadn't heard much about that.
Yes.
I'm Lindsay Ryland, class of 73. 30 years ago, I was president of the Alumni Association and was horrified to learn that Mary Baldwin's endowment was one of the lowest, if not the lowest, among the then four Virginia women's colleges and most other women's colleges. And I think you partially answered my question a minute ago, Dr. Fox, in answering Lee, but are there specific plans to work on that endowment to get it where it needs to be so that we can have a stronger financial base? And then I have a second question is, what has been the level of interest in the university college program so far by boys?
Right, so that's, I'll answer that, and I'll come to the endowment. We have 600 applications, or nearly 650 now applications for those 3 programs in the university college. 25% of them are from men.
Okay.
And
You said that before, I didn't connect that.
So with regard to the endowment, you're absolutely right. And there are historically cycles of reasons, but in the past 20 years, a couple of things have happened because of the general stress on enrollment. One is that there have been periods where we have had to utilize the endowment at a higher level than we wanted to. We have really been working over the past few years to bring our endowment draw to a very prudent level that is below 5%. But we have had to utilize the endowment. We've gone into periods, for example, like into the 2008 recession where we did not have, because of that, the accumulated gains to take us through that period very successfully. So we've had the need for our endowment. The second thing is we have had the need for capital project fundraising and for unrestricted fundraising, which means, in terms of then not having the tuition and room and board revenue at the level that would bring us to sustain the money that we need to refurbish our buildings on an annual basis, to basically replace and support and fund deferred maintenance. We have been very successful at capital projects. We've been very successful even in the past 10 years in unrestricted fundraising. But those things have hampered our ability to have an all-out focus on the endowment. It's not an excuse, it's just a fact of how some of those things come together.
We do have time for one more person to come to the microphone and join the discussion.
My name is Jennifer Milby. I was class of 99. With considering that this one of the living learning communities is going to be based for Murphy-Deming, for the fast track for that, has there been any consideration to how that might diminish women coming into the the women's college? As an OT myself, I went to Mary Baldwin and then went to a school in Florida. I chose Mary Baldwin because I wanted to be in the science majors. I wanted to be the majority in my class, not the minority. How is that being considered for an impact? Do you think you will lose women who would apply to Mary Baldwin because it's not going to be a women's college? As you're billing yourself as a co-ed institution, which is also concerning, that you keep saying you're a small women's college, but everything we see that comes out says you're a co-ed university.
Well, I understand that language, but all of the programs except the College for Women, Mary Baldwin College for Women, are coeducational in the university now. So that's descriptive of what the programs are.
But it's descriptive of all but the women's college, which you seem to be dropping out when you say you're co-ed university. The front page doesn't say co-ed with a women's college, it just says co-ed. Of your website, when I go to look, that's all it says. And then you scroll way down and it brings up the women's college, which is what started the university as a college and as a seminary.
Well, there are two places. I don't want to get into specifics with you. I understand your point, and I've heard that point made elsewhere also, and it's very important how that's portrayed to students. I don't think we're going to have diminished interest in the science, because as we start talking about on these interest days, what's available, if you want to be a Murphy-Deming scholar, and you can desire both a fast track to a degree in 3 years and 2 summers, in a major in health science, biology, chemistry, or physics, and you wish to be in an intensive co-curricular program that gets you out right away into the Murphy-Deming Graduate School itself with mentors, gets you out into the hospital, you're choosing a faster professional track with a lot of additional rigor and co-curricular activity. A woman coming into the Mary Baldwin College for Women may elect any of those majors. She could also accelerate if those paths were set up ahead of time. You would not have the same co-curricular activities, but any woman can come in and take any of those majors in 3 or 4 years in the Mary Baldwin College for Women.
That still doesn't answer my question. Do you consider that women would not choose Mary Baldwin because there will be men in those classes?
Well, in any class, remember those sections relevant to the learning communities will be co-educational sections, and there will be sections that have women in it.
Is that not going to put an extra strain on our faculty to have to be teaching additional cohorts?
We may need additional staffing. We've talked about that. The deans have worked through the course rotations necessary to look at that. So I can't predict. I don't have a crystal ball. I believe that both programs will be successful. But I can't tell you that no one will say they won't come because there are men in another health science program. I hope that's not the case, and I believe it's not the case, but I can't tell you at this moment of time.
We do have time for one more.
I'm Caroline Smith, class of 1989, and I would just like to say that while I'm disappointed that I feel like the school that I attended is not the same place, what I do feel sitting here and listening to everything that is going on is that I don't know Mary Baldwin anymore, which is partly on my shoulders for not maybe reading all the material that's coming in. But as the parent of a high school female student who has friends who are all interested in the medical field, hearing what you all are saying tonight, what I would like Mary Baldwin to give to us alum are the tools that we can take into the community and get those students that you're lacking. I've constantly been asked for money. I was never told that you needed students. I would have liked to have known you needed students. I would have been there. I am very active at my daughter's high school. I would have been happy to have been there as a representative with Mary Baldwin, but I didn't know you were looking for students. I just kept being told money. And I can't go out and help you get students if I don't fully know everything you have to offer. What you just said as a result of this woman's question regarding the health sciences, that I was delighted when I heard about that program, because I know that that is a field that women can excel in, and it's such a growing field. But we need to know what we can do to sell Mary Baldwin, because we are your sales team.
Yeah, right.
And so please, I would like to see material come out to us most of us are busy. We have busy lives, but I need to have information, bullet points that I can give to people. Look, you need to go to Mary Baldwin. You need to look at their programming. You need to see what they have. Because they're looking at large universities and colleges where a lot of these girls, I know a lot of them that are my daughter's friends, they need a small environment, and Mary Baldwin's perfect for it. But again, if you could please arm us with the information that we need to sell what Mary Baldwin has to offer, we can bring you the students.
Thank you for that. And that's the question that's, it relates to the question about how are we going to engage you, so which we never really answered fully. But I think this going into, if you have any opinions for a quick round robin here, when we talk about the summit, I know that not everybody's going to be able to go to the summit. We say that as the next point of engagement, of moving together positively, of time to share these processes that we've put greater structure around, that we're going to convey information about at each point of engagement. But for you to say, we want to engage, well, can you bring ideas, bring representatives to the summit? We need to talk about where we can engage, where we can meet, and what mutualities we have to go forward. So I think the idea of having this information available, that we're using the summit as a landmark to get the rest of this financial and programmatic information together, to get these points of engagement well-ordered and structured, to make other big structural changes, as the chair was talking about, so that we can have consistency and no embarrassing mistakes in published materials. But going after that, we want to engage many more individuals. So that's where we need to think a little bit creatively. Do we need some short videos? Do we need some periodic webinars? I think that kind of thing that you could do from wherever you are, so that you're not just reading bullet points, but we can talk a little bit more fully about it. So if you have ideas about how that can be most effectively done, we know that handing 4 brochures to somebody and 6 bullet points, given especially the institutions, all it has to offer in its complexity, needs more conversation and more understanding of what current students are getting out of it. So we need your ideas. They can come to the summit, they can come to us individually, but we need them very much, and have our promise that we're going to put these structures in place. Yes? Yeah.
So my name is Teresa Cash-Lewis, and I am class 99, and I'm also the current Alumni Board President. And I can tell you that the board, along with President Fox and administration, we've been working very hard on building the agenda for the summit. I tasked with a couple people because I was going to be out of contact for the past 24 hours to flesh out even further the second version of the agenda. So I believe it's in my inbox for me to look at. What I can tell you is the first part of the summit is all about educating alums on Mary Baldwin College, about where we are and the challenges that we are facing. The second part of it is then, this is engagement, and it's going to be engagement in specific areas, fundraising, admissions, college to career, and how that we can help Mary Baldwin, because Mary Baldwin needs our help. So that's short of it right now. We are working on the agenda. I am hoping to look at it. My promise is to get it to the next version to you the first thing in the morning. But that's our goal, is education and engagement.
I just feel like we're doing it backwards. Okay. Why didn't we do this 3 years ago? Hello?
Yeah, I mean,
This little me come from a hard-working world. I am held accountable by my clients every damn day when they find mess up. Well, let me tell you, it ain't pretty. And I'm just, I'm just trying to get back to some basics here. I feel like it's making me really sad. It's making me very sad. I think this summit and what you just said sounds great. But damn it, why did that happen 3 years ago?
But we are moving forward in a positive direction.
I understand.
And I don't want to cut you off like that, because frustration is important. And that's why President Fox said, let's do this. Let's get out, let's go where the bulk of the alum are, let's do this listening tour. Let's hear what you have to say. There's not an easy answer.
I just think there's something to be said that, like you said, this whole fractioning of people on Facebook and, younger alums interacting on Facebook and older alums being left out of that, it just feels like had the college had some sort of comprehensive approach to engaging alums, this wouldn't have had to have been some sort of AirStats grassroots movement that grew out of Facebook and is accidentally excluding people who don't do social media or who don't, do any of the number of, webinars or emails or whatever. We're ending up fractioning ourselves because the college didn't come to us comprehensively to start with. I've sort of said from the beginning, I can come around to what we're doing. I just don't really like how it was done. It's less about what and it's more about how to me. And I think had the college reached out to alums in this kind of way long ago, right now there wouldn't be as much frustration.
I appreciate that, and my apology at the opening was sincere, and how moved I am by your passion and support for the institution, and how responsibly I take what you're saying. We can only move forward from this point, but everything that we're doing and bringing our ideas together and the structures that we're putting into place, I tell you, we will do that going forward. And we respect each of you, and we need you very much, and we will do our best to do that. Yes?
Forgive me for this naive question, but is the summit a chance to hear the other side of the story, or is it a done deal? Or is this program a done deal? Are you hearing what alum is saying and give us a chance, let us show support? Or is it done and you're just going to explain why?
No, well, actually, the summit isn't about explaining why. I mean, except to the extent that people feel that they need more about it. The summit is more about engagement, learning about the university as it exists today, and that is more the focus. But I will say that the board believes this is the right decision, and the board stands by this decision.
So is that a done deal? There's no...
That's not a phrase. Either
we're set that we're admitting men, or there's room to discuss it.
The university college is going forward.
So it's set, we're admitting men.
You want to give your alums a chance now that you've given us this information. You're educating us with where the university's at. You will not give us the opportunity to now provide you with what you need as a university. And we're giving you a chance by trying to move forward in this innovative situation. But we need the chance to support you by giving our talents there, and we're asking for one chance of don't make this a done deal and let us show you what we have. Because you educated us and you gave us all of these great talents. Let us show you what we can do to support you and show you that we can fill those beds.
Well, I don't know, maybe the people in the back would have heard a lot from me. I can say more about this, obviously. But
Can I to respond to that from a different point of view? I mean, there's not time, and there are 100 people on the faculty at Mary Baldwin, and almost 200 staff employees. Not to mention the people in the 23,000, the population of 23,000 that depends on Mary Baldwin. So, there has not been 110% buy-in on this plan on campus. There has been careful consideration of it by faculty, by staff, by some current students. It's been planned to the best of our ability academically, but I mean, in a literal sense and in the more figurative sense, there are many of us in the Mary Baldwin community that recognize that we cannot afford to watch people step up, because we understand that people's commitments and their means don't always match. And a lot of us who have been working for the college for any number of years, long or short, really do feel strongly that we need to go forward with a plan, because we know we're never going to find a perfect plan that everyone's going to love.
yes.
Have you accepted a male student? Have you sent a prospective male student an accepted letter with Mary Baldwin University letter on university letterhead?
Yes.
And have they accepted?
We don't have any deposits in this month. We have one education leader deposit. And we have, at this point, we normally have 15 or 20 deposits as we go into this time of the year, so.
So no male student that you've accepted has committed to Mary Baldwin University?
Has not deposited yet.
And typically across the nation,
It's not happening
until March, April, May, until they hear back from everybody that they applied to. So we're not behind the schedule.
So, and I think that at the beginning, with all due respect, this analysis and coming to this point, difficult as it is, was well-reasoned and is absolutely necessary. But can you still help us get the women's college back up to the 700 or 753? Can you bring that passion there while we protect the institution and launch this other aspect of it too? I ask that you would, please.
And we trust you.
Yes. You may not agree with my decisions, but
It's
we
not
have
about
been,
agreeing with you, it's about trusting you.
but I was going to say, we have been truthful with you. You want more information so that can have context, but whether you agree with the decision or not, we have been truthful.
Can I ask one quick question? I know you said you have 600 applicants to the University College. I don't think it's a bad idea doing something new and innovative, but was there ever a consideration of it just being women? Do you have enough applicants in that pool that are good applicants that it could just be for women and see how that goes? Have you ever considered at least that first year doing that?
The board considered all those things, and I just want to make clear, the board has the formal fiduciary responsibility, the legal responsibility for making these decisions, which I want to tell you, it's not easy, and it's not, sometimes it's not very very pleasant. And the board has taken the view that we believe allows the college to continue to complete its mission and remain true to its goals and be a university into the second half of the 21st century. And that is why the board stands behind the decision. It's the right, we believe it's the right decision. And we did not, for many reasons, we considered all the things that you're mentioning, and we felt that our responsibilities demanded that we choose this route. As I say, no crystal ball. We have to make decisions that are forward-looking, and this is what we think is the best chance to fulfill the mission that we see behind us. And I am sorry that we came to that decision But I don't regret it because I don't think it's wrong. Painful decision. All right. Last question, yes.
I come from a little different perspective, I think, on this. I'm both a semi-northerner and went to a co-ed liberal arts college in Ohio years ago. But Mary Baldwin and its program, which I literally fell into at a time of my life where I thought I only needed a master's degree to go back and do what I planned on doing years ago. Instead, what I found was a type of support that I had sort of eschewed in my younger days. And as a northerner, looked at Mary Baldwin and other schools, Sweetbriar, as finishing schools. And my question to you, because I know that the liberal arts college I went to, and I had a good education, lots of friends, all those things, they also, along with numerous other small Ohio schools, are struggling to get students, the money, the endowments, all of those things to keep these wonderful programs going. My question here is this a Band-Aid to what is going to continue to be a program? And how are you going to brand yourself so that you are different from all of those schools? I can tell you why I went to an Ohio liberal arts school rather than my preference in the Northeast, and that was how much money was in my dad's pocket. I know that from my Northeastern friends, how many of them choose JMU for their kids' education because it is cheaper for them to go to JMU without of-state tuition than it is to go to New York schools. So I don't know how far-reaching you are with what your brand is, which is a small women's college. In your remarks, you sort of blew past very quickly as not on a same level with the Northeastern women's schools, which are very well known and very well respected. I would argue that because what I found in the MAT program was more rigor than what I had. As much rigor as I know many of my friends had in schools with much bigger names. That to me would seem like that would be the long-lasting brand that you have, and to strengthen that. And then I could also go on about what it's like to be a co-ed and a co-ed campus and all the problems with dorms and those things. And it was, some of it was, a lot of it was not pleasant. So anyway, that's my perspective, a little different. I think you have a brand. By doing this, you're putting yourself into a pool of schools that you're just going to be the same.
These programs are very exceptional, the New Living Learning programs. They are not offered much of in any place, and they are high demand fields, but they are rooted in the rigor of the liberal arts. So I believe that this distinctive combination of programs gives us a true value and maintains the liberal arts, experiential education, and the traditional disciplines of the liberal arts in the best balance of career prep, fast track, traditional track, graduate path, personal development. I think our brand is very, very unique, and they work together well.
But not well enough known.
That's the truth. Not well enough.
And to me, that would be
yes,
where you should go. It's communication.
Thank you so very much, each person, for your comments. And I see even those of you who didn't speak, I see it in your eyes and I see it in your hearts. And I know you'll go home and process it. But I do want to channel our collective energy. I respect the fact that there is a serious disagreement with the decision, but we need to find a way to come together on that path for your institution and her future. So please help us do that, and thank you for coming. There are some brochures in the back. Yes, we didn't bring the whole suite. Thank you very much. I hope to see many of you on the floor.